Hi there, I'm Heather from Creative Sage Cottage. It is a beautiful full moon morning here in magical Union Pier, Michigan, and I hope that your day has gotten off to a tremendous start. Typically, we would be gathering at the farmhouse this evening in celebration of the full moon, but since it is Passover, we will not be getting together this evening, and I thought it might be kind of nice to step out of my comfort zone and perhaps record a little video for you today. Before I get into it, I wanted to share a little backstory with you and a little insight about why I felt like today was the perfect day to finally pull the trigger and do an actual video. So, yesterday I had the pleasure and what I consider to be a deep honor of being interviewed by Maureen Spielman from Mystical Sisterhood for her podcast. We had this lovely 45-ish minute conversation, dialogue about all things spiritual and Creative Sage Cottage and magical mentoring and my beliefs on the divine and holy beings that we are and what this means as far as how we show up in the world. It was a great conversation, and after we clicked off and I allowed myself some time to sit in reflection of this, I was honestly pretty proud of what I felt like we had done together, and I really was sort of looking forward to sharing this with everyone. And then I took a breath, and before I knew what was happening, I suddenly started to hear this very familiar voice in my head, one that I have been listening to for really as long as I can remember, and it is the voice of self-sabotage. It is the voice that says, yeah, you didn't do as good of a job as you thought that you did. And who are you to be talking about God and spirituality? And why should anybody listen to you and your views on the world and this and that and It kept going on. And it stayed with me for most of the day. And I kept replaying this interview. And every time I replayed it, this voice got louder and louder until finally at 11 o'clock last night, I couldn't even remember what the actual interview sounded like because I had replaced it with an entirely new dialogue. And it was sort of unnerving, to be honest with you. And then it occurred to me that these voices and this narrative that I had been listening to is the same narrative that shows up every time I start to feel really good about something that I've done. And I started to sort of question, like, what the origin of this is, because this didn't really sound like my voice. This isn't something that I would say to myself as this person that exists in the world trying to remind people of their divinity. So where did this actually come from? And if it didn't come from me, then how did I know that it was true? So I sort of sat with that for a minute, and it occurred to me that I had sort of been accumulating sentences and opinions from people most of my life. Well-meaning family members and friends and teachers, people who had made an observation about me based on their own perceptions of the world and their own backstories. And for whatever reason, their opinion became my Holy Grail. My voice and things that I knew to be true about myself became replaced by other people's voices, and it became these voices became so loud that I could no longer hear my own heart and my own spirit telling me what I knew to be fundamentally true about myself. So this is what brings us to today and this beautiful full moon energy that is sitting out there for us. And I believe, as I've always believed, that in the space of a full moon, we have an opportunity to shine a light into the darkest shadows of ourselves and into those places that we don't typically like to look. We don't like to give them our full attention. And for me, this is about looking and listening to those voices and trying to discern reality from a false narrative. And if this is in fact a false narrative, and if I choose to really look at it and understand from this deep place of knowing that these thoughts were never mine, why would I choose to actually continue to carry them forward? And what happens if I decide to set them free? So the invitation I have for you today, should you choose to accept it, is for you to take a good look at what the false narrative has been running through your mind. What story did someone hand you a lifetime ago that you decided for whatever reason was going to become your limiting truth? What is it that you took on and adopted as a personal story that was never yours? It was someone else's opinion. And what would it look like if you decided to set that opinion free with a prayer of gratitude and open up this beautiful space where perhaps something else could move in today? What if you took the worst thought that you've been carrying around about yourself and you decided to very intentionally and very lovingly replace it with the very best thought you've had about yourself? How would everything change, or even begin to change, if you decided to allow yourself to step into a place of light and hearing the very best things about yourself and believing that those things are your truth instead of holding on to that false narrative of yesterday? A full moon could be something very powerful if you decided to use it for the greater good of your existence, and perhaps to tap into that divine space where you know that love and light live and there is no room for shadow. So I hope that you'll take a few moments today and a little bit of reflection on what you no longer need to carry around as your truth, and instead invite something else into this beautiful luminous space in your heart where light and love and a much more divine version of you would love to be able to be seen and heard and experienced and then shared with the rest of us. So yeah, that's about it for today. I thank you for your time and I wish you a clear and open and peaceful heart. And I hope that you will step with intention into the gorgeous light of this brilliant first full moon of the spring season. And if you're local, I hope you'll stop by the cottage this weekend. And if not, reach out anyway, and I'll look forward to hearing from you. So bright blessings to you and yours. And if you celebrate, happy and healthy Passover, and I will see you soon. Thanks.